Welcome to episode 112 of Let's Talk Geek, recorded on 17 October 2012. In the show, Rage and the My Broadband 2012 conferences were massive and awesome. Skydiving from space, and LTE is blazingly fast, but here's what we should be talking about. Thanks for watching. In the show with me today is Tim Hock.
Greetings.
Johanna Els.
Hello.
And I'm Jan Vermeulen. Thanks for watching. First things first, random for the show. It's a fairly obvious random.
I see it's blank.
A certain number was first standardized by a decision of the EU Council in 1991 and subsequently reaffirmed in 2002 by Article 26 of the Universal Service Directive and its subsequent amendments. This choice of number has the following advantages. Using at least two different digits significantly reduces the risk of accidental calls from numeric keypads. In the days of rotary dial telephones, using only those two digits that require the least motion of rotary dial permitted a dial lock in hole 3 to effectively disable unauthorized access to the telephone network. That number is 112, and it is widely used as an emergency number
On the mobile phone.
around the world. 112, when I was in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, is effectively their 10,111 kind of thing. But it handles everything. It handles everything from medical emergencies to...
Because there's 911.
Yeah, they've got 911.
So you couldn't lock the phone.
911.
Yep. Because it uses everything.
Okay.
Anyway, so on with the Wikipedia page about this, there's a list of countries that all use the 112 number. And South Africa is on there, obviously, because, well, we use that number.
Good to know.
Indeed. Got some events coming up. Check out stardates.co.za for anything we don't mention in the show. But on 12 and 13 November, GSA is in Cape Town. So
Right on, close to Vienna waterfront.
Ooh, nice.
Well, I must be honest, I haven't even actually looked where it is. I've
Seven
signed
Hills.
up, and I'm going to try to be there. And
No,
I've got confirmation for the Monday.
Yeah, they've been. I mean, did you also get like eight invites?
8 invites?
Yeah, emailed from G South Africa to say please register.
No.
I got about 8 yesterday,
got
so
one.
I actually emailed them to say, okay, well, why do you send me 8? So he says, no, you've been in 8 sessions before. I'm like, really?
Yeah, you find it's different people, different things that have...
No, well, they
Come on, Johan, when you get there, you hand out your business cards like crazy.
Okay,
And they all
true.
said, well, you know that guy, we should invite him back again. So he was keen. What was his name again? It's like, oh, well, I'll add mine in. And then the guy next to me is doing exactly the same.
I'd love to. They've released the program. So day 1 again is development. Day 2 is business. But like we've seen in the past, day 1's development isn't really development.
I know it's developer-centric is maybe a better way of putting it. It's not that you're going to be sitting there doing development,
Yes.
but it's more talking about the coding, Google Maps, YouTube, all the rest of it. Where day 2 is more about the business aspects. It's AdWords.
Do they actually handle coding? Do they actually hand developer stuff? The reason I ask is because I was just at Microsoft Tech Days, and they actually dove into hardcore
There's
code.
generally too many people
Yes.
to do that. I have been to one where they did do that and it actually backfired.
Okay.
You know, when you've got a large crowd, you can't actually go to do... They did have, last year, they did have an HTML5 offline coding little session.
Yeah.
But it was in an hour, and it's pretty much stuff that would actually have taken about 3 hours to do.
Okay.
What is nice is they do have open sessions where you can ask questions and stuff like that. So now last year we were asking about YouTube. Just one thing I must warn you, it's more if you've been using the APIs quite a bit, the guys don't know about everything. So I think we had a mapping guy, and I was asking him quite hectic YouTube questions. But other than
I
that,
did apologize because I know the guy that was supposed to come out from YouTube had an issue, and they sent that other chick.
Okay, all right.
Remember? So that was fine, but I mean on the maps guy that was there.
Oh no, the map guy. I think if I asked him
was
on
brilliant.
maps, he would have known about it. But anyway, yeah. Something else to mention very quickly: Ubuntu 12.10 gets released tomorrow.
Ah, dang it.
Thank you, Saffer.
I needed some time to prepare for this.
Oh, we didn't know about that. Sorry.
No. I mean, I need to do an article or something at least.
What? Sleep? What is that?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
okay.
It's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I think today's show notes lineup agenda thingy will testify to that. So first up, I think we need to give a big...
Sorry to interrupt you. It's in Stardate. Ubuntu 12.10 get released tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah, got it.
Come on, who has time to look at calendars?
Okay.
There we go.
So
Sorry.
I'm going to have a cut point right here.
Sorry.
and go, we've had a busy couple of weeks,
Yes.
and I think today's agenda in the show will be a testament to that. So first things first, I'm going to give a big fat punt to Great Signal. Well done, Tim. And so for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, Great Signal, GR8, signal.co.za.
And you can also spell great the correct
out.
way, and co.za, not .com.
Yeah, .co.za. And there's an Android app that will log the signal strength that your phone is receiving from whichever tower it's connected to, with a whole bunch of other data, including the cell ID.
We get cell ID, location, which is so the most important actually thing at the end of the day is location to signal strength.
Yes.
Because it says when I'm here, what is my signal strength?
Yes.
We log cellular provider. We also tell you the connection types that are available. It will be appearing on the map within 2 weeks.
The provider is incredibly important because otherwise the map becomes meaningless,
Yes.
right? So, so the idea is to be able to map the signal strength of South Africa's various mobile carriers on a pretty Google map.
Yes.
So there is a little bit of data on there already. Johanna's holding up the app, so you can take a look at it.
And what's also quite nice about it does have a meter in it. And I know people who've wandered around trying to find where they've got good signal so they can make their calls. And it actually does work.
Sorry about the focus.
We were talking about a couple of new features we're going to be putting in the app coming in about a month and a half's time. So there's some nice things. There's going to be an admin interface giving you a whole bunch more information about stuff, some maps, and a couple other things coming in there. It should be good.
Let's talk about privacy for a second because we weren't able to really give it a lot of attention at the My Broadband conference. I had 2 minutes in which to introduce the app. So we do log a lot of information that could be personally identifying information. I mean, like in terms of, actually I said that wrong. I mean, it's not personally identifying information, it's location data, sensitive data.
Yes,
so location data, along with signal strength and cellular provider and all kinds of things. So how does LucidView handle that?
Look, privacy is one of the things we are worrying about and we're putting a lot of effort in. The only identifying piece of information we have is a cellular ID from you, and I have no way of looking that up to you. To my knowledge, there is no way of looking it up to you.
So it's not an IMI code or something that can be tagged back to my device.
If somebody has your device, they can get the code out of it.
Okay.
So, but they need your device to get the code out of it. Having said that, we average the data. So like let's say even they get their code, they can't get at your data. Like we have it, and somebody comes to us. Obviously, the one exception there is that the police come to us with an affidavit.
It has to be a court order.
Sorry, that's what I mean. Saying this, unfortunately, then. But even in that, we
how useful would that data be to
not
them?
really.
Yeah.
But if I understand you right, if they do come with the court order, they'll have to bring the device with them.
They have to tell me the number.
So that's okay. So
and by that time, they already have your phone.
Exactly. So
And they've already asked put this way, if they want that information, they're going to go to your cellular provider, and they're going to get way more than we would ever be able to get them.
Okay.
On that, we are going to be introducing a tracking system later on, but this is more for yourself so you can get your data out. But with that, what we're going to be doing is after 2 weeks, we're going to be removing the tracking information from it. So you can only extract your data for 2 weeks, and after that, no one can once again link it back to you. With this, there will be an ID you will choose to paste into your phone. So there is work on your side, and as soon as you remove it from your phone, it stops getting tracked.
Okay.
So how this is where you'll log in, you'll get an ID, you'll paste that ID into your phone, and then from that point, when you log in, you'll be able to download your data.
So this is for somebody who wants to use the service not just as a public service, but as a personal one as well, so that they can track their own movements or whatever. Will they be able to get the signal strength data and stuff out as well?
Look, we do get rid of some of the data. So some of the data, you get certain things, the criteria that we clean it out and do some things to it. So that data they might not get, but all the data we are actually using, I'm hoping to be able to give them everything we've gotten from their phone.
Okay.
It's their data that they've shared with us, is my view.
Fair enough. Sounds great. So another big thing that's happened that we didn't get to cover because we didn't do a show last week because we were at the My Broadband conference working our butts off. Well done, guys, and thank you very much for streaming the show.
Streaming was incredible.
Yeah.
I think we hit
370.
I need to actually go look at the exact numbers, but 370, 380.
And before the My Broadband conference...
As simultaneous streams, not total people through the day.
Yes.
We had 380 at one point in time.
Yes. That's impressive, in case anybody is wondering.
200 megabits per second.
Nice.
It's pumping out the server, yes.
Nice.
But the weekend before that...
Was rage.
Yes, my feet were sore.
Yeah, that was a big day as well. We still have to get the videos up on the channel, but that's going to be some long hard work. And the first thing that happened at Rage that I want to mention is the 100K SA Entelect Coding Challenge tournament was decided there. The final was there, and so somebody walked in there. 8 people walked in, and one was going to walk out with 100,000 rand. That it is. I mean, this is probably one of the most intense geek tournaments I've seen in my life, because, I mean, you come second, you get,
Star Wars.
A very small prize by
Xbox,
comparison.
I
mean,
Xbox,
and
Star Wars edition.
it's a fairly big prize if you think about it. I mean, already that's a couple of grand, right? But compared to the 100,000 rand, anyway. And so the winner was Yaku Cronje, and he developed a Tron AI that beat out the competition, it would seem. So.
We hope to interview this guy soon.
Yes,
because he actually works
at the CSIR
as a developer. No, he's one of the developers for some of the rocket systems or something. Oh yes, we had a nice chat to him.
Image signal processor. That sounds right. I'm gonna let me look him up right now, and I'll tell you exactly what he does. His CSIR stuff isn't in my.
That's fine. Okay.
Oh well.
We can correct when he comes for a visit.
Yes.
He's already indicated he'll come around to.
But it sounds right. Image signal processor. Okay. It's still some hardcore math that goes into that. That was one of the most awesome geeky events I've ever had the pleasure of being involved with.
It looked very cool.
Yeah.
I know while I was working, I was watching your videos every now and again while you guys were streaming someone or two of them.
Yeah. So, but that wasn't the only thing at Rage. I mean,
Rage
we had like awesome cosplays. We had gaming tournaments. We once again had guys out from Ubisoft to come and showcase their games. I think in the stream you should see now one cosplay, a guy dressed up as Pyramid Head from Silent Hill.
Giving away free hugs.
Yes, with the sign that says free hugs. That was awesome. Memorable. Team Fortress 2 cosplay. I mean, it was really, really a cool event. And I wanted to mention, once again, Ubisoft developers came out. And this time, there were guys from ZombieU, the ZombieU development team. The lead guys, in fact, were out to South Africa. And we also had the lead cinematographer for Far Cry 3 out, that gave out interviews to local press. And so had a chat to those guys. We've got it all on camera, so you should be seeing that in the channel soon. Then, of course, you can't talk about Rage and not talk about the local talent that put the money down for us. I mean, a standard Rage is not cheap. Yeah. And Celestial, the guys behind Toxic Bunny, for those of you old enough to remember Toxic Bunny or in the know enough to know that Toxic Bunny HD has been released, they took out a stand there and were punting Toxic Bunny, and we got to catch up with them as well and just ask what their plans are for Celestial, because Celestial's been out of the game for 16 years. And I hope to get Travis on the show so we can interview him as well.
Chat to him there.
Yeah.
Good.
So Travis said he'd definitely be interested in coming on the podcast. So it'd be really cool to have him on.
Now, you've actually bought the game there, and how is it? Have you played it yet?
Yeah. I chatted to him at the event because the box says Mac supported, but since they finished off Toxic Bunny, Apple has dropped support for 3D Java on Mac, and so it runs, but it crawls on the Mac. That's the only thing I tried it on. But yeah, on PC it runs fine, but I haven't really gotten
into the game.
Deep into the game yet. Okay. But yeah, it's Toxic Bunny. You run around and you collect things and you shoot monsters. It's good fun. And for those of you watching the video right now, we've got a photo up of a little kid playing some Toxic Bunny at the stand. So cute. Gerrit had some fun running around Rage. He couldn't join us tonight, but he'll be back for the next show. Share some of his experiences. But yeah, so Rage was all good, and there will be some videos coming your way, so look out for that. We worked We worked hard at Rage.
No,
Let's be honest.
We were there when the doors opened, and we left when they started
When they started kicking people out.
figuring out when they're going to kick people.
Yeah. So the ASUS Padfone 2 is the next topic I wanted to mention. And that was announced this week. And Gerrit's been very excited for it. I've been very excited for it because I believe that the future of mainstream computing is eventually going to be something you carry around in your pocket. That eventually they're going to be so powerful that most folks don't need a desktop at home necessarily. The laptop and the desktop won't die, but not everybody will have one or need one. And so, looking at things like the Padfone 2 to me is an interesting thing. However, the Padfone 2 is not the future.
No.
So it's interesting.
Okay, just bring me up to speed. So this is a phone.
A phone, 4.7-inch phone.
Okay, so this is a rather big phone.
Yeah. So it's as big as an HTC One X.
Okay.
That docks into a dock.
A screen.
Yeah, that slips into a dock that then turns it into a tablet.
Okay.
That the dock is basically a 10.1-inch screen with a massive battery strapped to it. So the phone itself has
It's
like
the
a
CPU and everything else.
and it's like got a 2,000 milliamp hour battery or whatever in it, and then the tablet dock has like another 5,000 milliamp hour battery.
The future is once you then take this and you dock that into the next level up.
The Padfone 1 was that. It had a keyboard dock, but they announced the Padfone 2 without a keyboard dock. Now, I don't know if it's coming down the line, but nothing was said about that. So that was more than a little disappointing.
Okay, but now ASUS makes the phone and the tablet.
Yes.
So you're not using a generic phone into this tablet.
No.
And how was the track record on ASUS's phone? Is it at least something?
The Padfone 2, the reviews were average, but it's like, it's an average phone. And stuff at the time it was released. It took 12 months to come to get to market, the original Padfone. So that's
So it killed itself by the time it took.
Yeah. So I see there's some discussion about this in the RC that it has a resistive screen. I made a mistake today because ASUS made a mistake earlier today. The original specifications on the website said that the phone had a resistive touchscreen and that the tablet had a capacitive touchscreen. They've since fixed it. And both have capacitive.
Yeah, that would have been
so. And all the hands-ons that I've read, nobody made mention of the fact that it has a resistive screen. So I don't think any of the guys who were at the actual launch event picked up on the fact that the specs were wrong because they got the information firsthand rather than off of a press release. So yeah, I mean, it looks interesting, and we're not getting it in South Africa anytime soon. Oh. It sounds like. So I've contacted ASUS South Africa. I asked them if we're getting it. And they said right now they have no intention to bring it into the country. There's sort of always this door open for, yet or maybe later. But the Padfone 1 didn't come to South Africa. So, I just don't see the Padfone 2 making its way here.
Well, talking about very nice phones, I see the other phone that people are talking about today is HTC J Butterfly.
Yeah.
That they're previewing. Also going to be running Android 4.1.
Yeah.
A 1080p screen.
That's just ridiculous. What are you going to do with a 1080p screen?
444 PPI.
What are you going to do with that on a screen that's
per
5 inches big?
It has a better resolution than the iPhone 5.
So what?
It looks, and that's what they said, it looks beautiful. So what you might actually do is you might double your things, but all your fonts smooth scaling and stuff. So we're going to start getting, our phones are going to be pretty much photorealistic.
Yes.
And it does make a difference when you're looking at these things.
It also eats more battery.
True, and they did say that. So it does have a 2,000 something milliampere battery as well. But saying that, why did we go from 320? 320 by 200 is more than enough. Why do
but it wasn't.
Why do you have a 720p screen?
Well, it's not by choice. I'll tell you that. 480 by 800 was actually okay. I mean, you can see that the 720p screens are nicer. Nice enough to justify the battery cost yet? I'm not so sure. Like maybe if batteries weren't such a problem.
I went up from a 480 by 800 Nexus 1 to my now 720p. My 720p kicks its ass battery-wise. So with these things, they change over time.
Yes.
So like with my old one, if I worked it hard, my phone was dead by like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. This one generally, it's with, I think we've had one day that I haven't made it home before the battery went flat, and then I was like doing something very hectically on it.
Yeah. So a couple of interesting comments from the IRC that I think is worth bringing up is more laptops need 1080p screens. And how ridiculous is it that we're talking about 1080p screens, 720p screens on our
mobiles.
phones, and like some laptops don't have that resolution.
Wait, even better, I want a high-resolution laptop where I don't have the thing soldered into place, where I can change stuff on it.
Yes.
That's my
Did you maybe buy a Mac?
I did buy a Mac, and I would have loved to gotten the Retina display, but there's no ways I'm getting something where they've soldered the RAM in, and the hard drive, I can never get a bigger hard drive.
Yeah.
It just,
Another interesting comment from RC I just wanted to bring up is about the Padfone, which is somebody saying that the operators need to bring it in, which is partially true. The ASUS has actually brought in devices without the operators, but the fact is, without the operators to push your phone specifically. But even then, ASUS brought in the transformer. Does anybody know how the transformer competed against the Samsung Galaxy Tab, which was sold on contracts? The Samsung Galaxy Tab there might be other reasons for it, international hype and so on and so forth.
People who bought this ASUS one.
Among geeks,
nowhere near the Galaxy Tab because people could get it.
Among geeks, the transformer is a favorite. But if you just look at raw sales stats in South Africa, the Galaxy is what sells.
Guys get what's on contract because they upgrade, and then it's like, well, what do I do? Or they get what F&B provides them.
Yeah. So another comment from RC is that the HTC J Butterfly is Japan only, will never be released anywhere else.
Unless it's popular and there's enough demand, in which case we get version 3 and we have a totally different name, but it will be essentially the same
thing. Japan is actually an interesting market, but that is perhaps a discussion for another time because their phones are like completely different to ours in a lot of ways, more often than not. So, but... I think it's time that we talk about the My Broadband conference. That was the other big conference.
Well done, Jan and Rudolph and Cara and the team behind it. I know
Cara and Simone worked really hard. Yeah.
We're quite stressed and quite glad once it was done.
Yes. Most of us, to most of us, the event went off without a hitch.
We couldn't get Wi-Fi.
Except for the Wi-Fi.
But that always happens.
The 1 year it was okay.
This was specific.
How many years ago?
2 years ago, 2010.
So as we've got more and more devices and your crowds have gotten bigger and bigger, the Wi-Fi's died. Weird.
No, this year was specifically really the Wi-Fi.
Actually, in fact, I was there 3 years ago. I remember the Wi-Fi dying at some point.
Yeah, but it came back like fairly quickly. But there was somebody in charge of it who had a vested interest in ensuring that it stayed up. So it was still Vodacom who supplied it, but there were people who were ensuring that it was up and running and everything.
A lot of comments was made around it, so I'll stop.
Well, one. There was one comment from a Whopper guy. So he has vested interest too. But, it's a valid point.
Yes.
We're at a My Broadband conference.
Vodacom can't keep the Wi-Fi.
No, but in my head, that's the conference that's the most likely to die from
Exactly.
Wi-Fi.
And just for the record, I'm happy to say this. I was speaking to those technical guys the night before because I was there till 7:30 that night. And they were all going, why don't you stream on the Wi-Fi? And I was saying to them, because it's going to die.
Having said
this
that...
will die. No, but we put up 3 APs. Only 3. Do you think that is enough? You want to see congestion? Check tomorrow. What happened?
I fell over. Look, I must say, having said that, we were streaming there. I loved the line I was working on. I had 90 megabits per second up. 50 down, which is the weirdest ratio I've ever been on.
And that was a speed test between your notebook and your server.
Server, but
90 megs.
I would love to get 90 megabits per second up.
We would just stream HD. That'd be awesome. Given the fact that we can
stream
get the
HD
PC
in several different servers with load balancing and have space to spare.
But overall,
anyway, the My Broadband conference, probably the topic that got the chins wagging the most was LTE, LTE, and LTE. And the big reason was that Vodacom made a big splash early in the morning to announce that it was commercially launching LTE in like 10 square meters.
At the My Broadband conference.
Yeah, so
it was actually very good.
So that was quite a surprise. I was expecting a demo of some sort, and all of a sudden, they were launching it commercially. No mean feat. I mean, I'll give them that. Even though the footprint is small, getting all the billing systems and all the back-end stuff working along with the actual network is
Shouldn't that be just a couple?
Don't say it's easy. Just don't do it.
The fact that I've seen so many people get the billing systems wrong makes me realize
billing is
damn hard.
Billing is hard.
But then you got to add, I mean, it wasn't just Vodacom, it's just because they had the stage first.
Well, Vodacom was the only one launching commercially. So people, average Joe, could walk into a shop, provided he had coverage. Because the coverage, when I say the coverage is limited, I'm not even joking. It is a very, very small part of Johannesburg compared to the rest of South Africa that actually has LTE coverage. But where people have coverage, it is blisteringly fast. Okay. That said, MTN has announced plans to launch commercially by the end of the year. ATA has announced plans for a trial. Cell C has announced plans for an LTE network that also needs to go live before the end of the year.
I do have a question about ATA's trial.
Yes.
And they said you could apply, which I'm sure we all did.
Yes
we all did.
Right? They're going to pick China, they picked all the people, and then they said they're going to be contacting the people who weren't successful as well. Please tell me they're not going to phone me to ask me what I want to buy again. I just, sorry, I know, but it's like the last time this happened to me with their thing, and it was with VDSL.
Halfway through his presentation, he said, no, they were going to be providing devices for 200 people. They're going to run this trial on 200 devices. Am I standing this right? AT's going to trial LTE on 200 devices.
Yeah, but it's going to be more like a MiFi device from what I understood.
Yeah. It is a fixed wireless thing. ATA's view on the matter is that there's just not enough network. The network isn't widespread enough, and the devices, there's just not quite the variety of devices that you want, and so they are not going to go for mobile. It's going to be fixed wireless to start with. But they're also rolling out in a fairly weird frequency.
Mobile. It's a MiFi, so it's a mobile Wi-Fi device.
But
But at the end of the day, that's just the device they're giving. If you can get your hands on like Yanni was bragging,
on an S3
LTE compatible, it's going to work on their network.
No, they're running in 2300 megahertz. So you have to be very careful about which devices you think will work on their network.
But isn't the main thing about LTE being more on the lower frequency bands?
You roll out in whatever frequency you've got in this country, which brings me to some of the topics I wanted to talk about. Okay, so first up, just mention something big like iPhone and iPad compatibility in South Africa. So Cell C announced it's rolling out in 2100 megahertz, which means that the iPad 3 and the iPhone 5 do support that frequency, but there's been no confirmation as yet as to whether those devices will work on the network. MTN and Vodacom are rolling out in refarmed 1800 megahertz spectrum, which means that the iPad 3 is definitely not supported in any way, shape, or form, but the iPhone 5 is.
Okay.
And also no confirmation on whether that'll work on their network yet. So we'll have to, technically it should be able to, but there's, I know that there's some settings and issues with Apple devices that need to be sorted out before things work properly.
And look, we also know from previous experiences, when the new modems come in, they charge you lots of battery. They take, there's a bit of teething from while they work out or fix the problems. But within 6 months, a lot of the stuff, to a year, a lot of the stuff then starts to work really nicely.
Yeah. All right. So now that brings me to the point that Johan has now raised about LTE spectrum assignment. All right. So this is a deep issue, and last week's show, I think it was last week's show, the show we last did, I kept it very short, and afterwards I asked the guys in the IRC listen, should we deal with deep issues that people don't have a lot of interest in, like the digital migration, but that are actually really important to South Africa's broad, not just telecommunication space, but broadband, things that affect us as geeks and end users in general, right? And they said, well, if it's important, talk about it. So I'm gonna move into this so that it can be chopped out and we can put it in YouTube separately. All right. So this is a primer on LTE spectrum assignments in South Africa and why it is a massive mess. So this is the situation. The prime spectrum for LTE that we've got available in South Africa right now is in the 2.6 gigahertz band, 2600 megahertz. Now,
sorry. Prime. You mean,
Like that is the spectrum that mobile operators really want.
but is that the best frequency for LTE?
It's not necessarily the best,
Okay.
but it's available.
Okay.
Because the mobile operators have all rolled out those that have, ATA doesn't have spectrum in 900 megahertz, as far as I know. The other operators all do. They've rolled out in 900, they've rolled out in 1800, and they've rolled out in the UMTS frequency 2100, I think 2100, 1900 paired, right? That's typically where 3G sits. They've got their voice network all over the place. And so they've actually had to refarm parts of their, I think, voice network in 1800. There might be some data mixed in there as well. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to speak out of turn. But they've essentially had to kick people off of that spectrum, whatever they were doing there, voice, whatever, data, to use now for LTE in South Africa. Because the competition is fierce. And it's a good thing to see, but it's important to keep in mind what's really happening here. LTE, as it stands in South Africa and as it's going to be rolled out now, is basically just a tick box. It is operators going, I was there first, and I need to compete with whoever was there first. So I need to roll out LTE.
If too many people take it, there's not enough spectrum.
And it's about image, right? So and PR and mindshare, and making sure that people believe that you're an advanced network and you've got LTE capabilities. So because the fact is that there's the MTN and Vodacom have already both said that there are challenges in rolling out LTE in Cape Town. Not unsurmountable ones, but refarming 1800 megahertz, according to MTN, in Cape Town is apparently really hard. And so...
Did they tell you why?
No. So it's probably just the way in which the network is rolled out. That mountain screws things up like you can't believe.
Yeah, you find certain frequencies work better in certain areas, and you find maybe the 18 works really well to get around mountains. And if they refarm that, then you lose all your voice.
Yeah.
We know from experience, frequency is weird.
All right, so this is the holdup. This is the bottom line, right? So ICASA, maybe we should start at the beginning. All right, so way back when, people wanted 3.5 gigahertz and 2.6 gigahertz spectrum for things like WiMAX. And so ICASA, after much deliberations or whatever, they tabled a thing they call an ITA, an invitation to apply, for operators to go, I want some of the spectrum. That ITA got pulled because... there were fights about it, as there always are. And so they were going to renegotiate or talk to people, get their inputs, and then reissue the ITA. I think there was a bit of a back and forth, and eventually WiMAX was dead. WiMAX never got a chance to take off in South Africa because the spectrum was never issued.
Apparently, also
according to Arthur Goldstock.
LTE jump.
Eventually, remember, this comes from...
WiMAX is
2006.
Before LTE got developed. So
But
it had a shelf life.
No, but the reason I say that is WiMAX is not used that much worldwide.
No, and it isn't. But I mean, if you look at the United States, I think it's Sprint has rolled out on WiMAX, and they're eventually going to move to LTE. So the upgrade path for basically everything is to LTE, right? So rolling out, and there's actually equipment, WiMAX equipment, that's just like GSM equipment, lets you switch over from the one technology WiMAX to the other, LTE. And GSM equipment that'll let you roll out HSPA, but be LTE ready as well. That's how most of our local networks are doing it. Anyway, and so things started there. Then this was in 2006, I think, is the first time this ITA got issued and retracted. Then
Sorry, I just want to... Very quick thing, just from the RSC from Stevo. Apparently, 1800 has more capacity for GSM.
Okay. So 2G and voice.
I know I'm breaking around the middle. By the time we got too far from.
Yeah, it's
from
important. Thank you.
Yeah.
So now let's move ahead. Let's skip ahead 4 years. Around 2010, if I recall correctly, ICASA, and you can get all this stuff on my broadband and like other technical publications in South Africa. We've all covered it extensively. Around 2010, ICASA said, okay, let's do something about this. And they issued another ITA for the spectrum. There was a big hoo-ha again, and they retracted it. Then towards the end of 2011, they put out a ITA which handled 2.6 gigahertz spectrum, but all of a sudden, 3.5 was out the window, and they were talking about 800 megahertz spectrum. Low frequency spectrum that Johan was alluding to earlier. Now, the 800 megahertz spectrum is what's known as the digital dividend. And I'd like to dedicate a slot in Let's Talk Geek hopefully next week or another time to just talk about what the digital migration means. But basically what this means is that there are some folks who assert that until we vacate that band, that means switching off analog TV broadcasts, everyone using a normal roof antenna, not a satellite dish, on their to get a TV signal, they'll be affected. They'll have to switch to, they'll have to get some sort of box or whatever to be able to convert a digital signal into something that their TV can understand, because none of the TVs on sale in South Africa right now has support for the technology that we're going to use, according to the folks I've spoken to. So now, that said, there are some folks who are also saying, hang on a second, there are some things we can wrangle to vacate enough of the 800 megahertz band. Just have people retune their TVs, move some stuff around, have people retune their TVs, and there'll be blocks of spectrum available for operators to use so long, just in the meantime. Anyway, be that as it may, ICASA, despite really wanting to issue the spectrum, and there's a massive debate around this as well, which maybe we can discuss in depth at some stage as well, but the debate is about whether the spectrum will be wasted. They're talking about giving some more spectrum to Centec, who has not been a good custodian of spectrum to date, and they're talking about two national wholesale operators, one driven by anyone with a relevant license, and one specifically driven by Centec. And I think that's just a fail waiting to happen. Centec, I don't want to say they're incompetent because I don't know them well enough, but what they are definitely not is funded enough. They complain year after year about funding issues, and let's get real, the guys with the deepest pockets are our big mobile network operators and internet service providers who are owned by big national companies. They are the ones who will be able to roll out this infrastructure, right? So now the problem we sit with in 2.6 gigahertz is that Centec owns 50 megahertz of that bandwidth, is assigned 50 megahertz of that bandwidth, and iBurst is assigned another 50 megahertz of that bandwidth right after them. So 65 megahertz of 2.6 gigahertz of the front band of 2.6 gigahertz is assigned to people already. Right now, the problem is that the most popular deployment of LTE in that band is frequency domain duplex LTE, which means that you need to give paired spectrum that's separated by, I think, 120 megahertz. So if you look at the whole width of that band, that means that you've essentially got 15 megahertz of spectrum left to assign to FDD LTE, and who's going to get that? So until you move Centec and iBurst or WBS around in that band to free up that spectrum, to assign to other people who can actually use it, we're stuck. And before ICASA can do that, they need what is known as a policy direction from the DOC. And the DOC has been working on this. They've now, we've received an update on this week. The minister said that it is imminent. Not her words, my paraphrase. But it's apparently coming soon, and they will hopefully be able to tell us by the end of the month what's going on. Not have the policy direction out. What's going to
happen?
Yeah, not have the policy direction out, but what's going on.
Okay, but now a quick fix. It's by iBurst.
iBurst. The problem is Centec sits with the majority of the bandwidth.
So that little bit from iBurst is not going to help.
In fact, there are solutions to actually leave iBurst's bandwidth exactly where it is. And then move Centec around. Okay. Because iBurst is so insignificant in the grand scheme of things.
So do we know what is Centec using that spectrum?
Nothing. And apparently neither is iBurst. There is in fact a scandal, all unconfirmed, that some of the spectrum is being used by other operators to offer wireless broadband services. But sub-licensing of spectrum in South Africa is illegal. They're not allowed to.
Was that thing
with Screamer Telecoms? Yes. So all of this is, unconfirmed. It's just a scandal. So it's just rumor and conjecture and stuff. I don't want to put anything, pin anything down without investigating it properly. But I did read about that. So yeah, that's the situation with LTE in South Africa. So for anybody who feels strongly about the matter, try to write Dina Pule. We can always try. I know our politicians don't listen to us much, but maybe if we make enough noise, in a coherent enough manner, people will start realizing that this is a big deal. I mean, there's much more that can be said about the issue. The fact that ICASA is talking about giving Centec, not just, they're splitting Centec spectrum off. They're taking away some of Centec spectrum in the 2.6 gigahertz band. Then they want to split it so that they give them an FDD allocation so that they can use it for LTE. And then give them like half the spectrum in 800 megahertz band to roll out this national wholesale network that everybody will be able to use as competition for the one that is envisaged to be a private wholesale network. The terms of that wholesale network that ICASA is aiming for is that wholesale network will not be able to compete in the retail space at all. They have to sell on to retailers. So that means Vodacom, MTN, those guys are not allowed to be directly involved as Vodacom and MTN in this wholesale network operator. And how to wangle around that legally, nobody's really been able to tell me. It's
every time this has been government run, it hasn't worked.
And I've got Vodacom guys on record saying exactly that. So the government must give up on its plans to run broadband in this country. They must just look at history and just make peace with facts.
But let's not. There is a little bit of light. I mean, last week DTT was officially launched in Kimberley, and they fired up 2 transmitters in. What's that?
In Northern Cape, in Carnarvon, isn't it?
Carnarvon, there we go. I never could pronounce it. And then there's another town that got it. So there is definitely movement on the DTT side. I know some of the broadcasters are going to actually start broadcasting on DTT starting early next year. So hopefully the community can help the transition to DTT along, then actually freeing up that spectrum that's actually in the lower 800 range.
Yeah.
So
that's one problem solved. And also to add, ICASA, I don't think has its heart set necessarily on the plan they tabled in 2011. It was like from the impression I got from the guy who has now since left and is now, I think, working for the CSIR or Centec, I'm not sure. He said that it's really just a way to sort of get the ball rolling, get the discussion started, get the feedback coming in so that they can develop something that people, I mean, nobody's going to be happy.
Yeah.
You can't make everybody happy.
If you've got someone happy, if you've got everyone happy, somewhere something is horribly wrong.
So, but they can get the dialogue started so long, get some inputs so that by the time the minister is ready to act, all the feedback has come in and we can hopefully put something coherent on the table.
I'm just going to move us
absolutely.
on a bit.
Unfortunately, I think the hope that Centec spectrum will be removed from them, I think that's a false hope, and which means that spectrum that's going to be wasted. Anyway, so I know I'm sounding a bit cynical about the whole thing, but I guess what I'm trying to say is if anybody knows a way to get government to see that Centec should not have the spectrum, that Centec should not be in the business of provisioning broadband networks, tell me. That'd be great. Something cool
yes.
that happened in the last week, I think.
No, it's 2 weeks now.
Yeah, is that Humble Bundle has launched a new bundle, but not of games. It's called the Humble eBook Bundle. And it started off with just some books, I think like 6 books. One of them was Zoo City from local science fiction author Lauren Bierkes.
Won the Arthur C. Clarke Award.
That's right. Yeah, the 2011 Arthur C. Clarke Award. And so, I mean, already that's a great reason to buy it. And if you wanted more reason to buy it, they've added a whole bunch of digital comic books to it now. So that I think if you spend more than the average, you get XKCD, Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal, and Penny Arcade as digital comics thrown in. I mean, as a collection.
But I think the Neil Gaiman one's also a graphic novel.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The Neil Gaiman one is also a graphic novel, and you also need to pay more than the average to unlock Neil Gaiman. But he was part of the thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
Just to confirm, this is now all DRM free.
All DRM free. All pay what you want.
I've MyBB, EPUB. I've actually got all of all the big ones.
Yeah, except Neil Gaiman's book, I think, doesn't have a MyBB format, and they've got a README when you buy the bundle, explaining that they try to get it working in the MyBB format on Kindle, but they ended up finding that the PDF worked better.
Okay.
So just read it in
But also
PDF.
it's images, which is where the big problem comes in.
So what's the average sitting at now? Is anybody watching it quickly?
1355.
For
Yesterday it was under that, so the price is actually going up.
No, this morning it was 13.45.
Interesting.
Admittedly, just
30.
be aware our rand dollar price has gone in the wrong direction. It's about 9 rand to the dollar at the moment.
Good grief.
So but it's only 120 rand.
It's still
All
less
these
than what
books.
you're going to pay for a good book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you just drop like $15 or the default $25 on this, I worked it out, and you're getting like, I think in the region of 300, and that's just assuming a $15, everything costs $15, which it doesn't. Some of these things will cost more than $15, especially the graphic novels. Then you're looking at like over 1,500 rands worth of value that you can get for, a couple of hundred.
Well, I mean, that means that Humble Bundle is really firing off. I mean, they started off with games. They went to Android. Now they're on books. So good luck to them.
Yeah,
What's next?
it's really cool.
What's next?
Yeah, what's next?
Just letting you know, by the way, the Neil game is in PDF, HD, PDF, and EPUB.
Yes. And
What's
the
the
HD PDF is for viewing it on your desktop. So you
Higher
can
quality
see-
images inside of it.
Yeah.
So it's a big.
It's a bigger PDF file.
It's 55 megs.
I would also
52 megs compared to 7.9.
It's interesting
megs.
that they don't mention Retina displays, because I thought that the higher definition one would be better
man, just
on
move on.
iPads. So it'd be interesting for me to just
Well,
test.
Just remember, PDF comes from Acrobat. So it might be that Apple's not supporting that anymore.
No, it supports PDFs.
Just checking.
Yep. A cool thing that I think happened today, Tim. I don't know if you put this in the
I
show
did,
notes.
yeah, sorry.
Is that Google's data center is now in Streetview?
Yes, and also they actually started talking about it, so they let some other guys in to see it, I think. And there's a cool video where they talk about, they even show that they're customized servers, and you look at it, there's no top on it. Look very, very briefly, so I don't even know if that's the real ones. But the Street View is still the coolest, where you can go and wander around inside the data center. What is nice about the videos that give you talk through, by the way, this is what you're looking at. Because they have an entire room just dedicated to networking.
Yes. I had a quick look at the video.
And you think,
It's
that's a
amazing.
big small slot. And then you go into the server room and you just see rows.
That whole shot would have been a lot better if they actually switched off the room lights and just have the equipment lights running, because it's just lights. It's just rows and rows of servers.
And there's a couple
There's some Easter eggs.
Easter eggs around.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
this now in the Street View?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a stormtrooper.
There's a guard for Google servers.
Well, look at it carefully at the photo. There's a different security door there. So the rest of the rows are actually open.
I don't know if
there's
those
another
other
door.
ones are...
So it's maybe...
Yeah, because I know they use hot aisle, cold aisle stuff.
Ah, man, just leave it with there's something special locked behind that door.
So that might be the cold aisle.
Nobody sees R2D2.
Of course,
Yes,
you see
R2D2
R2D2.
running in the front, yeah. I'm just wondering what
They
this ladder
shrunk
is
him
for. Just wondering what the ladder is for in the foreground.
for R2D2 to escape on with his rollers. Sorry.
Another cool thing that finally happened this week, I think it's a run over from last week, is that the fastest freefall ever happened this week.
This was planned long, but yeah, this guy is just amazing. It's so the total height was how many feet? Yeah, no,
It was very high. And a human body, went through the sound barrier. So,
Tumbling.
1.24 Mach. It's like over 800 miles per hour. I don't know what that
Can
is.
you see these shock waves coming off his helmet as he's breaking it? I mean, these lines.
240 meters per second.
I know that's very quick.
But look, it's amazing. I know Cecilia was sitting there watching this, but I was too busy, so I was glancing over, so I wasn't there. But the people were on the edge, is is it going to be okay? When's it going to happen?
And I mean, there were some scares. Felix Baumgartner is the guy we're talking about. He, for those of you who didn't watch the live stream, there is a recording available on YouTube that you can go and check out. He came out and he started tumbling. He was in what looked like a tailspin. If he was an aircraft, he would have been in a tailspin. And he then righted himself, and everybody got all excited about it. And at one stage, he said he sounded very anxious, and you could hear him breathing. And at one stage, it sounded like he said, "It feels like I'm going to pass out." And at another stage, he said, "My visor is fogging up,"
Yes.
which means he can't see his instruments. So if your visor's fogging up, and so like some seconds after that, he pulled the ripcord.
Yeah.
So if I understand it correctly, he was expected to free fall far longer than he did.
Okay.
So
Well, I know he didn't break the free fall record.
Yes.
He did break the highest
yeah,
thing.
and Annie and I sat today to try and work out, and without doing the math. Right, so this is just off of intuition. I'd love to run the math another time, but the guy who held the record before him was there to sort of break that record, and so he wasn't trying to go particularly fast. Even though he did go fast, and there was actually misreporting that he did actually go through the sound barrier. The guy who broke the record in the 1960s, but he didn't.
Did he break
Okay,
the
look,
record?
I just want to do some things here. Apparently, we've had some corrections. He didn't break the sound barrier for where he was.
The local sound.
Because apparently, I would imagine it sounds like it's got something to do with air density.
Yes.
He broke the sound barrier for sea level.
At sea level, yes.
But for where he was, he didn't actually break the sound barrier.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that makes sense because the air is a lot
one thing
yes.
also where they say, so I think it was for the first 30 seconds of the fall, there isn't enough air to correct himself. Which is why if he starts tumbling, until 30 seconds later, he can't stop.
Yeah, but imagine that. You're spinning, and like how many G's are you pulling? Like while you're tumbling like that, and there's no way for you to fix it until you hit Atmo.
You just got to wait.
Yes.
Just got to wait. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway,
So no shockwaves off the helmet.
And one other
done.
cool thing, the other guy that got the previous record was the guy who was talking to him, giving him his directions.
Yes.
Okay, that's very nice.
Yeah, Kissinger is the guy's name. Kittinger, my bad. Just so we're clear, this is where there's some hardcore investigation that still needs to happen from my side, I think. But we came across some interesting facts that Joseph Kittinger, apparently his record wasn't official. It wasn't officiated by the FAI, I think is the name of the association. And his record was noted by the United States Air Force. And there was a Soviet, and his name is Yevgeny Andreyev. There are two of them. Otherwise known as Eugene, Yevgeny Nikolaevich Andreyev, and he didn't dive from as high, but what makes his jump different to Kittinger's, why do I want to say Kissinger the whole time?
Because he is a Kissinger.
Okay, what Kittinger did is he free fell for. Like technically free fell for only about, and like I'm going to get skydivers on my back now, but he for only about 6,000 feet, like let's say 7,000 feet, and then he opened a smaller chute, which has a name, a drogue chute, but it's a smaller chute that to stabilize him, right? So that he doesn't go mad, I guess. Is the other guy, the Soviet, didn't have that. He actually free fell for like I think it's like a good 80,000 feet. Yes.
Yeah.
He free fell 80,000 feet before he opened any chute. So the Soviet had the official record for the longest free fall, and that was apparently actually noted by FAI people.
Okay.
So I'm going to go and confirm this in my old Guinness Book of Records that I've got at home, but he apparently held the official records. Kittinger's records were unofficial records.
Doesn't matter, he still did it.
Yep, Kittinger still did it, and he's awesome. Not to take away from his achievement.
What I'm saying, it's like he's done, yeah.
Not to take away from his achievement, but to sort of
just
put
more correction.
Yeah, just to
so we don't get this emails going. By the way,
But
just to put some things in perspective. It's very interesting.
talking about corrections.
Are we done talking about the awesome free fall? Say again.
Oh,
we're not there yet.
okay, sorry. No, I just wanted to say, keep going on the subject because your pronunciation is getting very good.
Pronunciation.
Pronunciation, yeah. All right, so apparently before we're allowed to go on to the next topic, we have to show our video viewers one last picture that was in Mail and Guardian this week. And it's got Felix Baumgartner jumping out of his balloon there with free fall record, and it's got Lance Armstrong careening past him. So
Hope you all catch the
poor Lance Armstrong taking a bit of a beating in the media lately.
Oh, I wouldn't say poor, but
Yes. Anyway, that is beyond the scope
Yes.
of Let's Talk Geek.
Apparently, we do have something in the scope of Let's Talk Geek up next.
Yes.
A fan correction.
Yes. So, I'm stealing from Conan O'Brien mercilessly, unashamedly, I should say.
Conan O'Brien.
By calling it fan corrections. That's what he calls his segment. I know it's. I mean, it's sort of like patenting the rectangle by calling it, fan corrections. It's fairly obvious, but I mean that's what he does in his talk show. Anyway, so the proper pronunciation of Kaysh.
Cash.
It's Kaysh,
Cash.
and I'll tell you why it's Kaysh.
Tell me why.
All right, so I used to be quite an avid geocacher. Now I'm just a fair weather geocacher. Like if there's a cache nearby and I feel like doing it, I'll go do it. But like I'm not hopping in my car every weekend to go do a cache. And one of our caching mates that we met on one of these events explained that one day they were doing a geocache, more correctly pronounced, in some rural area of South Africa, and it's in a shop. And so the shop owners know about it. But there is a lot of time that passes in between caches rocking up and doing it. Months go by in between this cache being visited sometimes. And so they walk into the shop, and in the geocache's description, by the way, maybe I should qualify what a geocache is. A geocache is where you put a coordinate in your GPS. You go to geocaching.com, and you can find cool stuff to find in South Africa. And you put that in your GPS and you go to the coordinate and you find a little tin of stuff. Usually they're like lock and lock Tupperware containers, and you sign a little log, or they can be like film tubes if it's a small cache, and you sign a log, and then you go on the website and say, I found your cache. It's basically like a high-tech treasure hunt. Anyway, and so they rock up in the shop and they go,
I can just imagine where this is going.
we're here for the cache. And the shop owner goes, if they had said Kaysh, there would have been no confusion.
No,
Okay.
the guy might have still thought it and gone,
So you base that pronunciation on that story.
so
Absolutely.
basically you pronounce it so it doesn't sound like cash.
Yes.
And not whether it's correct or not.
From the way that it's written, to me, like when you read a word and you have like awry is a great word. How did I always think that was said? Anyway, Ori. I always used to think awry was said Ori until one day I actually heard the pronunciation of awry, because that's the way it's written. AWRY. Ori, right? No,
I agree.
Apparently not. The same thing with Kaysh. There is an E at the end of the word, suggesting a different pronunciation to
No,
cash.
Yeah, look, true initially, but nowadays the common lingo, if you want to call it, most people I hear use the word cash.
Well, it's not common lingo. That's the correct way to say it. If you hit any pronunciation dictionary online,
Okay, is it a router or a router?
I'd have to go to the pronunciation
In
dictionary and
America,
find
it's
out.
a router because that's the common way
Yeah,
to pronounce
but there
it.
is no correct way
Is it
that it's
Linux or
cache.
Linux?
That it's cache, sorry. So, like Linus Torvalds doesn't care what you call Linux. Can be Linux, Linux,
True.
whatever. But if you go to any
everybody who
pronunciation
say that,
dictionary,
and generally they go, no, it's this way and this is the correct paragraph.
Yeah.
So everybody doesn't pronounce it. At some point they go, okay, we give up, we'll pronounce it that way.
yeah. But
And
cache
just one day, don't
slash
worry, one
cache is
day
not
you'll
so.
join the rest
While
of us.
I'm defending my pronunciation of cache, I have to also concede that it's absolutely wrong. There is no pronunciation dictionary I have been able to find that has it.
Except in your notes, the Australian one.
Yes. So apparently in Australia it is cache, whereas in the US it's cache. And a Saffer on there we say cache too. Meh. So cache. So
All I'm going to say is David and Buffett.
what now? Oh, buffet. And duvet. But doesn't that come from like some French thing? Anyway, I don't want to get into that.
Come on, with an E at the end, it has to be French.
No, it doesn't have to be. But I remember looking up the whole etymology for the word and stuff, but that's all flown
Anyway,
out the one.
holy what? How's it go? Holy cow, Batman.
Holy Lego bricks, Batman!
The Batmobile.
Into our kicker.
To the Batcave.
Somebody built a Lego
Now I want to
Batcave
see this.
and got themselves on Kotaku.
What is... Okay, sorry, Kotaku?
Kotaku is a gaming blog and gaming news website / blog, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, they got these guys who built this awesome Lego Batcave got showcased on there, which means they got like epic exposure. So it looks really
Awesome.
cool. I mean, they've got lots of details in there, from Batmobiles to the little thing where Batman stores his cowl and
I've seen,
cape and
there was
things.
a big fair running at Irene Mall a while back, and they had one guy that they actually built a cave like this, where you've actually got a solid wall with a hole in it. So it's not like an opening trying to be a cave, it's like really a cave. So yeah, that's quite awesome. That's a lot of bricks in there.
Yep.
And lights, and he's got movement and things moving around, and I presume he's got the Lego Batman figurines and stuff.
Oh,
everything in there.
yes. They had the Robin on earlier.
Well done.
Very cool.
Cool. That, I think, is our show, even though
Yes.
that there are plenty of comments on IRC about more pronunciation we get wrong that we will cover in a different show. But thank you very much for joining us. Check out
you.
the rest of our shows. Like us, tweet us. I hate asking for this
Tweet
stuff.
face us.
Yeah, I hate asking for this
Face
stuff.
tweet
So I'm
us.
just gonna say it in a totally ridiculous way. Tweet face us.
And to
Self-promote.
self-promoting punt, try Great Signal.
Absolutely.
Or you just go check the website
Great
out.
Signal is the coolest app to be released this year.
Go check the website out at the very least. We're going to be, over time, been trying to add a whole bunch of very cool features. And mail us if you've got some features that you would like seen. Look, it might take us a while, but I'll show them somewhere, and then we'll look at them as time goes by.
Cool. With that, Tim, where can people find you?
Tim_Hawk on Twitter.
Cool.
So I actually think it's been a while.
Yes. Johan, where can people find you?
My blog. Who-else.co.za.
I'm Jan Vermeulen. I write for My Broadband, so I spend most of my time there, mybroadband.co.za. But occasionally you can find me on Twitter at JanVZA or on Google+, Jan Vermeulen, circle the good-looking one. Next week I'll be the ugly one. Yeah, with that, thank you very much for watching. Check out our other shows. We've got Let's Talk Possibility happening every Monday night. We've got Let's Talk Afrikaans happening less frequently, but they've got a show up that they did recently, so you can go and check that out if you're into Afrikaans and having a good old potgooi. If you know what that word means, Let's Talk Afrikaans is for you.
Yes. And hopefully we should have some other videos at some point.